What is going on, everyone? Thank y'all so much for joining us for another episode of the Sit Down Pre-Show. And joining me for this conversation is producer, technical director, cinematographer. He's also a teacher, licensed minister, principal. I know his list is extremely long. He's a husband, a father, my friend, Lamar Shealey.
Yeah, man.
What is going on, bro? I'm gonna bring the fist bump back, cause this is what we was doing like in like the first 3 seasons of the Sit Down.
Okay,
Fist
okay.
bump, I guess we're gonna bring it back for this. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll do it for this one, man.
Man, thank you for joining me.
Man, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited about this.
So you come from like behind the scenes, you know what I'm saying, running the switcher, doing all that type of stuff, to now just sitting in front of here. And you still had to kind of like do the same thing here.
Yeah, you know, that's never gonna leave. That's what I do. You know.
What got you into doing like all this media stuff anyways?
So let's backtrack. So I was a musician. I know we'll get more into that later.
Yeah.
So I was a musician. Things happened, moved, came back, things of that nature. And when I came back, I could never really get back into being a musician as much as I wanted to. Mm-hmm. And even before I left, I was doing audio and playing the piano at the same time. So when I came back, it was kind of like, okay, where is my place?
Yeah.
I still play some, still was doing that, and it's just, we had somebody else doing video. I hopped back into audio because everything was all tore up and messed up, fixed that, and then just started. One day, the guy that was doing the photography and the videography just wasn't doing what he was supposed to do. So I picked up the camera and just fell in love.
Yeah.
And just kept going.
And that was at your church?
That was at my church.
Yeah. And that's the same church you go to right now?
Yes.
How long you been there for?
I've been there since I was 15 years old. And I'm 38 now.
Dang, me too. When's your birthday?
August 23rd.
And I'm August 8th.
Mm-hmm.
Dang, we got a lot in common. How long you been married?
I've been married for 13 years.
13, okay, you got me on marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Dang.
Yeah, 13 years.
And that's a whole story within itself.
That's a whole story. We've been together for 18 years.
18?
Mm-hmm.
And so 18 years, so y'all met out of high school or in high school?
We met after high school. So the funny story about the way we met was, I went to West Orange High School, okay? Mm-hmm. And I was in chorus, so I was singing. And then her brother happened to be our intern at the school, but I never knew her because she went to a different school. So I used to play the piano at the school, I used to sit there play the piano. And when her and her mother used to come pick him up, they would see a black kid playing the piano. She would never knew it was me. I didn't even know she was back there. Mm-hmm. So once we met through another mutual friend after graduation, we were talking about it. She was like, yeah, my brother, this, that, and so I said, hey, I used to play the piano there all the time. She's like, yeah, I remember somebody. I said, yeah, that was me.
Wow.
I got an even crazier thing about it that I found out, I think, a few months ago. Mm-hmm. So I was born in California, military brat.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Her father was in the military too.
Wow.
She was in California. Her father, she wasn't born in California, but they were in California when I was born. Like around that same time.
Yeah?
They were in California.
That's crazy.
It's a crazy thing.
Yeah. So y'all was like kind of, well, not like in each other's lives, but like around each other.
From the beginning.
Wow.
It's insane.
That's deep. So going back to the media side of your life, I wanted to ask you this because a lot of times when people are like in this field and they move like as proficiently, I think I said that right, as you do, like that's like kind of like a young thing, it's in them and they kind of move in that. So like you started at 15 years old.
I started playing the piano at the church at 15. I've been playing the piano since I was probably like 8, 9.
Wow. So you had that, I guess, like performance side of you. So what takes you from being in front of a camera to being behind it? Is it just like responding to a need?
Well, as a musician, you're never really in front. You're backing someone up, generally, most of the time. So I was always used to being kind of in the background. When we were younger, my sister used to sing. I sang as well, but she was always the one that went out and sang. We had a group at one point where I played for them, and I actually used to record music, interestingly enough.
Yeah?
I remember you used to also. I remember. Yes. So I was always used to being in the background anyway, being the playing, because, usually the person that sings up front, musicians off to the side in the back. So I was always used to that. I never just craved to be in the front.
Yeah.
That's how I always was.
Yeah. That's crazy. And so, and you move into the media side, what was that like? So how old were you when you started doing that at your church?
The sound side, I've been doing that for a very long time. My pastor actually started a show. I was helping out with the show, just being there, I'm a techie at heart.
Yeah.
Just helping out with different things like that. I wasn't editing the show. I kind of learned a little bit about it at that time. And I just kind of went on the back burner. I wasn't really thinking about it. It just really came out of necessity.
Yeah.
We needed somebody to do it at the church. I started doing it. And that's just how I fell in love. I don't know what happened. It's just, once I started really getting out of the music scene, doing it as much as I used to after I moved from Michigan, I just needed something else that I was really passionate about.
Yeah.
I still love music. I still play the piano. I still sing some, but I don't really miss it as much as I thought I would.
Me neither. See, I never did I did play the drums. Like my dad's a pastor. He had his own church for a time when I was growing up, and I played the drums. And then I left playing the drums, started rapping, and then now getting into like producing projects. Like, you don't miss music as much. I think that there's so many ways that you can move in this production space, cinematography space, however you want to title, what it is that we do. There's so many avenues you can go with this. So like, you can always do something. And you move sometimes, well, not sometimes, you move a lot deeper than even what I do, because you school me on a lot of stuff that I learned too. So I guess like you brought up passion, being passionate about it. So when you get into it, when a person, so let's talk about passions really fast. So when a person engages in something, do you think that a person can find passion in something that they're not passionate about, or maybe that's something dormant in a person, and when they find it, it's like, oh my gosh, it kind of blows up on them?
That's an interesting question. I think you can find passion in, I guess let's talk about me. I like pushing people. All right. So one of the things, being at the church I've been for so long, I like to play the background role to help things happen.
Right.
So you always need somebody kind of to be your microphone or your amplifier or your bullhorn, whatever you want to call it, to kind of amplify what you're doing. So they have the vision. I attach to that vision and basically try to make that vision be pushed forward. I did the same thing with my mother at a school. Do the same thing at church. Just, I'm there. I'm passionate about making those things happen. And when I see when I see people that are doing something that I like or I'm gravitated to, hey, whatever you need me to do to make that happen, we're going to make that happen.
Yeah. Where does that come from? Is your mom like that?
I actually don't know.
Yeah.
My mom, she's Jamaican, headstrong. She's a go-getter.
Yeah.
She's always been like that. So even when my father being in the military, I remember she had a potato shack in Germany.
Oh, what?
So she didn't own it, but she basically ran it for the owner. And she used to come up with all the type of recipes and everything like that. So she was always headstrong and just go at it. She doesn't like being bored and just sitting at the house. Even though my father was in the military off in the field, she just likes to do things.
Yeah.
She likes to do things. She likes to try to travel. She likes to do all of that stuff. So I was always like this, go do it. That's what happened with the school. Even just, hey, I want to start a daycare. We started at the house. Wow. Then she was like, okay, I want to buy a building. Bought a building on Pine Hills Road. Been there for, 23? For 24 years now.
Wow.
And then it's been going. She said, I want to start a school. I said, go for it. She started a school. She wanted to do something else. She's not afraid to just go ahead and just do it. And I don't know. I mean, I got that part. My dad's pretty laid back. He was a little bit different when he was in the military, but he just liked to be laid back.
Yeah.
So I know I got that part, but I don't know about maybe I got that more from my dad.
Yeah.
My dad's a big supporter of people.
Yeah.
So he always does that.
And he supports your mom real hard, bro.
Yes.
So let's talk about that really fast, because I was thinking of a question while I was preparing for this conversation. I thought of a question. So this is a good time to use it. So for people that are watching that don't know, your mom started a school.
Yes.
My son goes to the school. That's actually how we met. And he's been going since he went through the daycare, and now he's up in the school. So, and now you were a teacher at the school before.
Yes.
And now you are the principal.
Principal and owner. So this goes back a long time, actually. And a lot of people don't know this. So after I got out of high school, I did some other jobs. And some way, somehow, I became a substitute teacher. Don't know how that happened. I saw the thing at Kelly Services, and I decided to become a substitute teacher.
Yeah.
And I looked like I was in middle school. So I did that for a while. I traveled around doing it all around Orange County. I substituted for my brother-in-law now. I substituted because he's a chorus teacher. I substituted for my old chorus teacher and a few other teachers around. And this was when I was I think I was 19, 20, around that age. And then I was like, it'd be cool to become a teacher. Then just put it back and never pursued it after that. And then 10 years later, it was around that, no, it was a little bit before 10 years later, maybe about 8, 9 years later. I was talking to my mom when I was in Michigan, and she was talking about starting a school. And I said, go ahead and do it. She was thinking about where to rent it at and do things. Came back, did some other jobs, and then she was like, remember that conversation we had when we were at the school? When we were in Michigan? I think I want you to start teaching. And I was like, that's crazy. I hadn't thought about that for close to a decade. And then just decided I said, all right, let's do it.
Yeah.
And I was already kind of doing it at church because at that time I was over the media team. I always had a lot of teenagers helping out with that. So when I was younger at the church, we were doing stuff with the youth ministry.
Yeah.
So I guess it just all came full circle.
So that part, I guess, being over kids or instructing children or whatever, that instructor piece has been a part of your life.
Yes.
For a while. That's interesting, man.
People call me I over-explain.
They say you over-explain?
I over-explain. I was always told that I like to over-explain, and I like to figure things out.
Yeah.
So I've cut back a little bit on the over-explaining, but as a teacher, you need that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when I don't explain enough, they say, well, I don't understand what you're saying. Well, then let me over-explain it.
Yeah. But I thought about this question, bro. So how is it working that close with your family? Because you don't have one person. Me and my wife, we work together on projects. It's just me and my wife. You have your mom, your sister, and is your dad involved?
He's involved somewhat. He's retired, so he helps out when he wants to help out. But
directly, how many family members are directly
my sister and my
involved?
mother.
Your sister and your mother.
My wife kind of helps out some too, but she has her own job.
And your son attends the school.
And my son attends the school. From my sister that works with us. Yeah. Her children go there too. Yeah. So my second oldest nephew, he's at the school. It's difficult. Yeah. Exciting. Great. Yeah. Want to pull my hair out. Yeah. It's everything all mixed into one.
Yeah.
I've noticed this is just in anything, especially being in the church for so long and then also working with family. And I worked with my uncle. That was a different experience. It's hard sometimes for people to see you as adults. I'm 38 years old, and every once in a while, the people that I grew up with that remember you as teenagers still treat you as teenagers. And they don't always, they trust you, but then still every once in a while, they still have that kind of, hey, well, you should do this. And it's not in a necessary a way that tries to demean you, but a lot of times it feels like that. So, you know, it's just one of those things that you have to kind of work out and learn how to navigate. And I try not to, do anything in a rude way.
Yeah.
Because it goes the same way. It's like I work with family at church too, because I've been there since I was 15. Most of my life. Besides my family, that's the next most stable people in my life.
Yeah.
Is them.
Yeah. And that type of stability is hard to find in a person.
It is.
So I commend you on that too, because that is rare. You know what I'm saying? But I think that's a dope side too. And I think that there's pros and cons to everything that we do. There's pros and cons of being that close, working with family, to everything that we do. It's just finding something that fits that person, finding something that fits you. Because I don't think it's a bad thing. I know it can be challenging because sometimes even the people closest to us, when we start growing, because we mature in areas. I don't like using the word change because I don't think it's changing. I think it's just you becoming more who you are. So you're becoming like who you are as you develop and mature. And sometimes it's hard for us to remember or to forget the immature side, the growing side. It's like, no, that person has matured and grown up, but yet we still treat them how they once were. So I think that part could be.
And I'm going to make some mistakes. That's all of us. We're going to make some mistakes. Now, the one thing is I don't want to make the same mistakes. I don't want to make the same mistakes I already made.
Yeah.
And if you made a mistake, I want you to tell me your mistake so I don't make that same mistake. So you have to understand I'm going to make mistakes, but I try my best to not, and also try not to make them as big.
It's big.
When you're running a business or a company and you want it to grow, and I don't want it to grow too fast. That's one of the things. I don't want it to grow too fast. I want it to grow and be sustainable. And I think my bishop is preaching a message about being, chess and checkers. And I like to try to think strategically and try to make sure that when we do this, because I'm preparing for the influx. I'm preparing for 100 students at this point. So I may say things, I may say, let's do this way, that may seem, oh man, it's a lot of work. But it's not a lot of work. It's the same amount of work that we would already be doing, but we do it with 20 kids, it would be the same amount of work to do it for 100 kids. So we want to make sure that we get those things. And a lot of times people don't always understand where I'm coming from with that, because I'm thinking ahead.
Yeah.
Like when I talk to people, I say, hey, we're doing this, or we're going to do this. I speak in faith because the church I go to, we talk about faith. We talk about that. So it's like, well, I should make that into my speech and how I speak. And my mother's like that as well. It's like, hey, we're going to do it. Yes, we're going to do it.
Yeah.
One of the big things that I learned I'm a problem solver. I like to solve problems. So when somebody comes with the issue, I immediately try to figure out how to fix it. Or, something's broken. I'm like, it's broken. I could take it apart. It doesn't matter. So I think about that. Okay, well, I did this with it. It broke. Well, I might want to do this, and this with it. So when I fix it, how can I make sure that it lasts for this long instead of just fixing it where it's this way? Something, okay, there's a hole there, there's a hole there, there's a hole there. Let's fix it, not just patch it.
Yeah, and that's smart. And I think that you form those habits now so that when the time comes and the growth happens, you're not scrambling playing catch up because you've already have those habits in place. Now you can facilitate the growth versus trying to get ready then, because you might not have the time to do that, and you don't want to scramble. That's pretty sick though. So what's the name of the school so the people know?
LJ Preparatory Christian Academy.
Yeah. Yeah. So y'all look them up, hit them up,
Mm-hmm.
enroll. LJ, because I want to say, because me and you talked about it before. We talked about your relationship with your son. So I guess I'll go into naturally your dad. I pretty much can understand the answer to this question, but for the sake of the conversation, people watching, what makes you so intentional, so focused on being that type of father to particularly your son? Like, we understand the daughter side. We're talking about the boy. What part of that makes you feel that?
I want him to be a better version of me.
That's it right there.
That's as simple as that. I think most fathers, when you sit down and think about that, is you see yourself in them. You know your faults. You know the mistakes that you made, and you want them to be a better version of you. And that starts at the beginning, talking to them. And one thing I always wanted to show him love. I mean, I got love when I was younger. Now, my father was in the military. He was off in the field sometimes. I still felt his love. I knew exactly why he was doing it. And I didn't have any faults with him, with that. I loved him. But I wanted to always show my son love. I try to tell him I love him every single day. Kiss him on the forehead. I love you. Because in this world, the way, we'll go into a little bit of the, us being black.
Yep, let's go.
You don't always see that outside of us. So I want to make sure my son knows, hey, I love you. Not just we love you, I love you. I want to see the best for you. We will sacrifice for you. And one of the things I do with him, I speak real to him, just like I speak with my students. With being a teacher, you start noticing, and we deal with the lower income family. So I see a lot of people that don't have their fathers in their life. I've seen ones that had people just like run all over their mother. I see that. So I see one of the things that they're missing is love from their father or from a male figure. So I'm like, I don't want my son to ever feel like that. And the thing is, you never know what's going to happen with me. I could drive home today and pass away. But one thing he's going to know is that my father loved me. Yeah. And you can never take that away from him. So every single day, I try to talk to him. And we have conversations. And he's kind of like me. He thinks critically and he likes things to be explained. So I talk to him like I've been talking to him like he was a teenager. Even when he was like 3-4 years old, I would talk to him. Because, we didn't do that baby talk when he was a baby either.
Nah.
We talked.
And it's just like, it's one of those things where I want you to grow and progress. So I'm not going to speak to you where you are. I'm going to speak to where, I want to get you to be. And a lot of times as parents, it could be easy to kind of go down. And you could go to explain, but our responsibility and our goal as parents is to assist them in their growing process.
Exactly.
So since that's what I want you to do, this is how we're going to talk. This is how we're going to communicate. Look at me in my face when I'm talking to you. You're a man, stand up. Because all of these things, these little things are going to be needed when you start engaging outside these walls. Outside these walls, they're not going to deal with you the way we deal with you. You know what I'm saying? Because there's love, care, and concern for you here. And not to say that people won't love and care and be concerned for you outside there. You're not going to find that like that out there. Everybody's going to be trying to get one over on you and all of that type of stuff.
That happens a lot.
And one thing, I talked to you about it too, when the Christmas production y'all put on. Yeah. And just watching him, little director, and he's just moving around. He's changing the set, and he's like and I was just like, man, I'm staring at him, and I'm like, yo, that's Lamar right there, man. Is that a proud dad moment? It
is. And the thing is, sometimes people don't pay attention to your son too. Yeah. Because he's good. You just gotta calm him down a little bit once you get him. And when he gets focused about what he wants to do, it's on and popping. Listen. And them two, they've been around each other most of their life. Yes. They have scars to prove it. Oh man, they have scars to prove it that they can. God. You can't take that away from them. Yeah. One has a scar here, the other has a scar here. Yeah. Don't know how that happened. But anyway, Yeah, it's a proud dad moment to see him growing up. One of the things that happened, you know, we have him in gymnastics, which is a very demanding sport. You know, practice 4 days a week
Jeez.
for 4 hours a day.
What?
So Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, he's there from, what is it, 3 to 7. Yes, 4 days a week.
Wow.
And it's a very demanding sport. And, you know, we try to make sure he has other things going for him and other things that he's doing. But this year, I saw a switch flip in him. So we had him in and he was kind of complaining a little bit. And then this one day he was just like, he wants to go more often. He wants to prepare. He wants to do his thing. And even though I know it's very rigorous going to school 5 days a week, having your parents at the school, your aunt is your teacher, and then you go from there straight to there, and then you go home. But we gave him a little bit more freedom over the summer, let him kind of like have some fun and chill out and go to practice. And then this one day, just like it clicked. He started like really focusing, and that's one of the things that I admire is that change and that focus that we saw in him. And it's like, man, okay, what we're doing is working.
Wow.
What we're doing is working. And it eases your mind and let you know, hey, you know, if he's this at 9 years old, imagine when he gets 19, 29, 39. I always tell him, whatever you do the best at it. You don't have to be the best.
Yeah.
Do your best. Now, I tell him that, but me knowing that when he does his best, he will be better than the rest. So his goal is not to beat everybody.
Yeah.
His goal is to beat himself. So when he beats himself is better than everybody.
Yeah.
So it's you know, that's to not blow up his head too much, but to make him have that internal thing and saying, hey, do better. What can I do better? And then when he looks up, he's like, oh, I'm number one.
Yeah. That's the point. It's not, because there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with competing to win. That's what winners do. Champions do that. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, you chase that. But it's the character of the individual that's winning that matters.
Exactly.
You could be a good winner, you know what I'm saying? You could be a positive winner, or you could be a jerk at it. You know, that's all in character. And,
or you could stifle yourself by trying to compete with other people.
Yeah.
Usain Bolt, fastest man alive right now, right? If he was just trying to beat the next person, he wouldn't be the fastest person alive. If he's just trying to be his competitor, he would just, okay, I could just win him by an inch.
Yeah.
But if he pushes himself to be the best he can be, that's what makes him better than anybody that's ever lived or anybody that's ever done the sport. Same thing with Simone Biles. She's doing stuff that no other woman's done.
Yeah.
In that sport, to the level that they've done it at.
Yeah.
Even when she took a year off, came back and was like, okay, so you're doing stuff that no other woman can do? All right. That's how it is. But sometimes when you compete with the people around you, that can stifle you. So you don't compete with the people around you, you compete with yourself. So I'm gonna be the best that I can be. Maybe you might have some comparisons here and there and stuff, but be the best you can be.
Yeah. And that's most important.
Exactly.
I want to talk a little bit about, before we go into more of the conversation, I want to talk a little bit about the church side of things and what we do. Because I believe if anyone can have this conversation with me on camera, candidly, like I want to have it, is you. Because we've talked.
Disclaimer, nobody don't get mad at me, all right? Don't get mad at me for what I'm about to say. This is my experience. Yeah. And sometimes in your experience, people don't realize how it affects you.
Yeah, as a person.
As a person.
Yeah.
So I just want to make that disclaimer there.
Yeah.
Even if it may be you, whoever's watching.
Yeah. I don't have no disclaimer. That's what we do. So here it is, right? And we've talked about it off camera. And the reason I want to have this conversation on camera is because I haven't seen it had. I know people are having it, and I want to have it on the sit down. So I'll put it to you like this. When it comes to media and ministry, right? COVID showed us how important, the online presence and the industry is to our culture and society, right? We're not saying that the gospel can't go forward without it. We're just saying that this is the nature of the world that we live in at this moment.
Yes.
It wasn't used X amount of years ago because that wasn't the way the world we're moving. Technology is doing its thing. And now AI is being introduced, and it's going to be something else 10 years from now, right? Our kids are going to have a different type of technical, experience as they age. But this is the age that we're in. 2020, COVID happens, right? And as a person watching this happen to churches, you've seen a lot of people scramble to get online. They're using iPads, they're using cell phones, and doing all type of things to get that look online. For a while, it worked because it was just like, get there. It doesn't matter how it looks or how it feels, just put your content there. Now that the content is put there, and this is what I always say, it's one thing to be consistent, it's another thing to be consistent while growing. Because I believe consistency is important. I believe more important than being consistent is to make sure you're growing as you're being consistent.
Yes.
Right? So when ministries are doing this, they're showing up, they're being consistent with what they're doing online, yet they're not growing. They want to grow, right? But they're not growing. Now, my thing is, they're not growing because they're not willing. I don't use really willing. They're not able to invest what it takes to grow in that type of space.
Let's take a step back first.
Okay.
My church has been streaming for well over a decade.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
We were streaming before Facebook was streaming. We were streaming on Ustream, live stream, when most churches weren't really streaming. So we've been streaming for a very long time.
Okay.
So let's step off of the technical side. I might hurt people's feelings. But sometimes you're not growing online because your message isn't for everybody. It's just for your people.
You think that's possible?
So the thing is, it's not that you're not preaching the word of God, right? It's not that you're not saying something that's good. But it's really for the people that you have, and maybe for your area, for your region, to help them grow. Some people have messages that are more universal and widespread to more people. So some of the people that are online don't necessarily need to be discouraged because they don't have 10,000 views.
Right.
Because, again, going back, I went back a little bit. Going back to saying be the best that you can be, maybe the best you can be is at that level. Be consistent at that level, upgrade that level to make sure that if God decides to increase your capacity,
right,
when you go from, say, 200 people online a week or whatever, that's a high number. 50 people online a week, and maybe 75 people in the audience, if God decides to bless you and get to the next level, that you're already prepared for that. You already have the consistency of being online. Also, some people need to be camera trained. It's hard to do that. And with the age of the internet, and I actually heard somebody else say that not every church should be online, but sometimes what we do can be taken out of context and misconstrued into a way that makes us diminishes what we look like online. What you say that may make sense in context and where you're at might be perfect. I didn't divert the conversation, but we'll get back to the technology side of it. But it may have diverted the conversation, and people may have perverted your words and misconstrued them, even though what you said was on point. And preaching, I know being around preachers, and of course I'm a licensed minister, done all that stuff. Sometimes your word may change for somebody that walked in the door. So then that word is really, it helps everybody in the ministry, but it's really for that person to save their life. Because somebody may walk in the door, and that word and that message may not translate to everybody. It might only translate to the people, and like, okay, that was a good message that pastor preached. Maybe it didn't move me forward. Maybe it just kept me consistent and stagnant. Not stagnant. Stagnant is a bad word. But kept me where I'm at. But this other person, that one person that walked in, it just catapulted them.
It encourages you.
And sometimes when you're online too, it's to catapult that one person that may watch you.
Yeah.
So you may help that one person that cannot come to church or may not have the ability or may stay in a state that doesn't speak to them, who they are and how they are. Because church in the country, if you ever go to different churches and have people come around, the way they preach, the way they do it is totally different, as well as going with what race they are, what background they come from, right? So there's that part of it. So they got to know, hey, what I'm doing, I want to be professional. I want to present God in the best way that I can. Yeah. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to get 10,000 views, right?
And see, the view count, I think, gets in the way of how we calculate growth. Because we can look at growth as, and I think sometimes some ministries can look at growth, and what I mean when I mean consistently and grow consistently, as in view count. We're not talking about view count. Well, I'm not talking about view count and growing, and I'm not saying you.
I don't. That's what I was gonna get to.
I'm
the technical
saying,
side.
yeah. I know you are. When I'm talking about growing and what I would like to see, I ain't gonna say what I would like to see. What I think will be helpful and beneficial is for that ministry to make sure that they're growing in whatever form that looks like and whatever it is that they're doing. Because get this, ministries will say, we're growing, we got an influx, right, of finances or whatever, how we want to allocate our funds, and we'll do different things around the church for growth as far as like pews and stage and chairs and all these type of things, which are great. I'm not saying don't do that. Yet, when it comes to the media side of things and what they're putting out online and how they're displaying themselves online, that growth won't translate. So now you might have gotten an overhaul in these areas, yet you have an online ministry. And I'm not saying to do away with the online ministry. It's just that in order for that growth to translate, something has to be done there. Yeah. And you don't have to have all this type of equipment to do that.
So now getting into that particular side of it, and just to cut into what you were saying about growth, just do remember that weeds grow faster than flowers.
Yeah, they do.
So the Bible just talk about the wheat and the tare growing together. You got to cut them both down, all that kind of stuff. We won't get too biblical, but weeds grow faster than flowers or fruit or anything that actually produces anything that we want.
Right.
And those weeds stifle the growth of everything else because they just take over. So the thing is, when people are talking about growth, you want to make sure that that growth is the right growth and sustainable.
Yes.
Now get into the technical side. When it comes to how they don't want to get into the treatment, let's go into the technical side. When you want to start growing that media ministry, the one thing is you do have to pump in some money, but then you also have to learn something about it. How does it make sense for us to even do this? Yeah. Okay, we're doing it. COVID happened. We had to be online to reach our own people.
Right.
In some aspect, every church does need to have some type of social media presence.
Some type of,
whether it's something closed off or something that's open for everybody to see. But just know when you have something open for everybody to see, you have to, and going back, because I know you want to talk about respect of the media person, you have to have a media person that is not just technically good, but also spiritually good to know, hey, I can go up to my bishop and my pastor and say, hey, I think we need to take this down. I can go, if I feel that it's that bad or that detrimental, or it could be misconstrued or clipped in a certain way, I will go up to them and say, I think we need to take this down.
As far as the content.
The content now. And they'll be like, okay. They might give me a little pushback here and there, but if I go up and I'm that serious about it, they'll be like, okay. And then maybe we might have a conversation afterward, why? But okay, I understand. Or he might text me and say, hey, I need to take that down because this might be me. Or he might even ask me.
Yeah.
But that comes from me being there so long. But what happens is, and it happens to me sometimes too, is they don't see the importance of that. And also the person that's over media doesn't see that importance. So whenever I talk to somebody about media, I'm saying how important it is. Your job is very important because you're just basically amplifying what they do there. But you want the perception to be correct as well.
Yeah.
They say that unadulterated truth, the word of God, you have to make sure it's portrayed in the way, because social media will just pervert anything that you say.
And the thing about it is too, when you put that type of, anything you put online, whether it's a post, a picture, a reel, a show, whatever you post online and it's public, you open that up for speculation, interpretation. You know, people are allowed to opinionate or to give their opinion on what you just posted because you made it public. The same type of care should go into that. And I'm not saying it doesn't. It needs to, you need to finite that. Because if a pastor is unable to oversee that whole process, you got to put someone there to do it. It's equally as important. I'm not going to say more, right? It's equally as important, because whatever happens in that building, we're not bringing something new online. We're taking exactly what happens in that building and we're presenting that online. That's why you brought up the audio part. When you're having church online, it's not, I'm giving them a different experience. No, we're trying our best to simulate that same experience. It may sound different because it's pre-recorded. You can EQ, the tracks are a bit different. So it may sound different, yet we're trying to give them that experience. Nothing like coming in person. We want them to come in person to be there. Yet we've chose, right? Or the church has chosen to put this online. So we're going to do our best, right? After that comes the visual, right? We got our visual because we want to make sure that we look a certain type of way. And what you were saying, you got to be camera ready.
You got to be camera ready.
Presentable. Everyone has to be presentable, look and move a certain type of way. Because yes, we're talking about God and it's the truth and we're talking biblical and we're just going to go by the Bible and that's all we're going to do. Okay, yeah, that's fine, right? But just know what comes with that. You might not grow, it might not go off the way that you want. Know that. And when you talk about going online and throwing a camera at something, you've now entered the production/entertainment side. I'm not saying this is entertainment, yet it's looked at like that. And people are watching your content. So, and I'm calling it content, right? Because that's what it is. Like we're talking about the truth, stuff like that. I still believe in Jesus and I know, but we're talking media here, right? We're talking media here. There's something that comes with that.
There's a lot of aspects to do this properly. There's a lot of aspects that you have to think of. Just like pastoring and preaching. It's a lot of things, song selection. So I can't remember who I was watching, but they were talking about how it took a long time for musicians to start getting respect, getting paid, all that kind of stuff, right? When we were younger, it was like, well, you just play because of the Lord and blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff. And then musicians started getting better. Equipment started getting more expensive. You start doing more and more things to enhance your gift. And musicians started having to, mostly musicians are a lot, more than 50% of musicians on tour came from church. Church is one of the most intricate hardest things at a high level to actually do as a musician. Because when you go on tour, you're doing the same songs. You practice the song, you know exactly what's going to happen next. When you're in church and as a musician, you have to be led by the Spirit. And depending on the type of church, anything can happen. Somebody can sing a song that you haven't heard or played for 15 years. And when you play that song, you're expected to play that at a great level. Or you might, respectfully have a meeting and say, hey, I need you to learn that song, sir, or ma'am, or whatever the case, son, daughter, whatever the case may be, to make sure that we can keep this going. But you have to be led by the Spirit very heavily. And that's what made church music. And as time has went on, they started to respect that. And musicians are started getting paid their actual worth. Because there was a time where they didn't want them going out and, gigging, playing for this artist, playing for that artist, going on tour and things of that nature. But it's like, well, the thing is, I don't want the church to go broke trying to pay me. So I have to do these other things to, get the experience, be able to bring it back, and to learn that professionalism that God deserves. My big thing is, a lot of people have problems with big churches, right? And, these extravagant sets. There's the church that had the camels and they had a zebra this year.
For Christmas, they had people hanging and...
Yes. Now, I do have to admit that, yes, I believe it. My personal opinion is a little bit extra, but
it looked good.
They're giving their best that they have
their best
to God.
Yeah. Because they can do it.
And they can do it. Yeah. And they have the finances. And the thing is, a lot of people judge them and say, oh, well, you should be feeding the homeless and that. Most of the people that are saying that don't go to church.
And they probably are feeding the homeless.
And a lot of them are.
They are.
They're feeding the homeless. They're doing these things. They might be buying cars for members for all you know. Yeah. But then they also have a large staff. Yep. So you have, it might be 20 families be able to be fed by making sure that, having this large of a church, right? But segueing into my thing, musicians, it took a while for them to get that respect. Now it's coming to production side.
So, I'm sorry. Are musicians just now getting their respect, or they have been for?
It's been a while, but they're starting to get their respect.
So they're starting to get their. So now it's the media team's turn to go through their process.
Now is the time. So the thing is, some pastors still don't understand about that. Musicians, you need musicians. But the thing is, so I've had these conversations with pastors, where it's like that is a big portion, and churches are doing that a lot more now with musicians as well. But hey, you know what? There's this conference coming.
Yeah.
I saw something about this. They're doing photography class. Hey, I think it would be nice to have you go do that.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Invest in the people. Even if at my church, and there's nothing wrong with this. This is my choice. I'm not trying to, okay? So nobody say that. In my church, I don't get paid, right?
Right.
But it would be nice to say, hey, I had this thing that I saw as development for what you do. Mm-hmm. Now, yes, my bishop and my pastor, they do bless me. I'm not saying that they just, try to use me up. They bless me. Right. And the thing is, I want to do it. I made a commitment and how I want to do it and the way I want to do it at the level I want to do it. Mm-hmm. Now, I do have to go places and I do have to get experiences to help that growth.
Yeah.
If I stay in my little cocoon, I can only grow so much. Mm-hmm. And I learned that from when I was younger, being a musician at the church. I never really branched out a lot. And when I started branching out and doing different things, I grew as a musician.
Right.
I don't know if the church has had enough experience with media ministry to understand that particular aspect of it. So the thing is, because you don't know that I've had 50 different points of thought just to do this one thing, you may not actually fully understand why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And you might not fully respect my opinion.
Yeah. I think the biggest part that from everything that you're saying about when it comes to church and media ministry is that this is new for everybody. Yes. Right? These media skill sets and the word skill set when it comes to this is something that needs to be magnified. The same way that when it comes to the musicians, you brought up a great comparison. I think that's a really good comparison because when it came to musicians and the respect and what they're owed and what was due to them, it took a lot of working out. And I believe the media is the same way because these skill sets and what you see on a day-to-day, from Sunday to Sunday, these skill sets are getting developed in all type of ways other than just on the Sunday, and people are knowledgeable. So I guess it comes in trusting that. So I guess the word there that should be inserted is just trusting that media partner, I think that person or those people.
It's not just trusting, it's also respecting.
Respecting. But if you trust someone, the respect. Well, no, you don't actually have to.
Because I don't have to respect you to trust you.
Yeah.
I know you're going to get the job done.
Yeah.
But I may not respect your opinion.
That's true. I trust you're going to get the job done. I trust you're going to get the job done. I guess. Let
me also say, when it comes to media ministry, okay, let's talk about a big mega church. I'm not going to say the name of it, but I like to research things and I like to watch different videos.
Right.
There are big churches that get thousands of views a Sunday, hundreds of thousands of views in weeks. You know that most of their media team isn't paid either. It's the head, a few skilled people, and everybody else is still volunteers.
I don't find a problem with that.
But look at the music ministry at that same type of church.
You think
everybody's paid?
You think so?
Yeah.
Well, your core of that.
No, everybody's paid.
No, I'm saying the core of your.
And I'm talking about mega churches. I'm not even just talking about the smaller churches.
Right.
Because those are different. But they still, even at the huge stage, they don't respect the entire media team the same way they would respect the musicians and even the singers.
I believe that's numbers, right? Because if you're talking about an orchestra at a mega ministry, everyone in the orchestra might not be paid.
If they have an orchestra, they're getting paid.
But I'm saying everyone
They may
in
not
the
be getting
orchestra might not be getting
salary,
paid.
okay?
Right, but I'm just saying everyone, you're gonna have more, your core, okay, when you're at a church, you got your drummer, your
And
keyboardist,
I'm talking about
your
like
piano
churches
player.
that seat thousands of people.
Right, you're gonna pay those. When you talk about a media team, you got your producers, DPs, technical directors, all those. You're gonna pay that. The camera operators, grips, and all those might not be paid.
Those are sometimes more important because you got to have a skilled camera person.
Yeah, you do gotta have a skilled camera person. Man,
Because they got to be able to capture the moment.
yeah, and anticipate, and you gotta have an eye. You can't teach an eye. That comes with that person. You can teach an eye.
You can teach somebody. Yes,
I don't know.
Yes, you can. So with
you can develop an eye.
Well, that's still teaching, developing and teaching.
You think so?
Yes, trust me, I know.
Because I think that if that's in you, that's in you.
It's investing in people. You have to invest in your media team no matter what and how you do it. And the way I teach my media team, and it took me a while to develop the way I approach it. Yeah, is I need you to, first off, they have to trust you too. So you have to have a relationship with them. Yeah. I have my youngest one, I think he just turned 11, right? He's really good. But you have to get a bond with them, talk to them, let them know, hey, anything you got to do, anything you need, I'm here for you. And you have to really, truly be genuine because, this generation, they know when you're not genuine. They know it. So that, and then once you start saying, hey, look at what I do. Yeah. And they're like, okay, I see why. And then start explaining them why you do it. That's teaching them what to look for. So once they start learning what to look for, then you'll see, okay, when they start branching on their own. Yeah. I mean, I've had some of them do some shots. I'm like, man, I wish I would have thought of that. And I'll tell them, like, yo, man, that shot was dope. Yeah. What were you thinking when you did that? Yeah. Yeah. They said they start coming up with it because you're sparking creativity and teaching creativity. Now the thing is, you still have to go from. They still have to have some passion for it, and God can help that out. Yeah. But you can definitely teach somebody to have that. You can teach somebody to have an ear. Yeah.
So yeah, man, I appreciate you for sitting down with me.
Hold on, I got one more thing before you completely close.
Before I go ahead.
So I want to say, I appreciate you having me on the show.
Oh man.
One of the big reasons why is, and this is something that I realized, sometimes people want you for what you can do, but not for who you are.
Ooh, that's a bar.
So people appreciate what you can do for them, but not actually who you are. And that means they not just value your opinion in what you do for them, but who you are as a person. And I think a lot of people can learn to do that for people. Hey, maybe they might not have them on their show or something like that. This is great. I love that. But just appreciating them, just say, hey, I appreciate what you do, but I also appreciate you as a person. Because the thing is, okay, I watched the show. You ever watched, what's that? Oh my goodness, I can't remember the show name. I remember the people's name on the show. Yeah. Adam Savage and Jamie Hyneman. Mythbusters. So in Mythbusters, you ever watch that show?
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know they weren't friends?
What?
They weren't friends.
Before the show or?
During the show.
Oh, wow.
They had such great chemistry, but they didn't respect each other. Well, they respected each other.
Yeah.
But they never had dinner over the house, nothing like that. For all the seasons they did it.
Wow.
They appreciate what the other person did, but not the necessary person. I think they have a little bit better relationship now. Yeah. But you would think after all those seasons of doing that, they would still be hanging out, doing things like, no, they don't. Wow. They literally respect, but not appreciate. And the big thing is, I know in what I do, and it's not to toot my own horn, but I know that I'm an asset.
Yeah. No.
I know that I'm an asset for a lot of different things. And to have somebody realize that, but then also not just want me as an asset, want me as a friend and a person that they want to talk to and actually like put out there and let people know who they are. Yeah. It's great.
Nah, man, I think one of the biggest things that even when we've spoken about this, when I even started to sit down, it wasn't to achieve crazy numbers. You know what I'm saying? We do all right. It wasn't to do any of that type of stuff. It was just my guest. It was just the person I sat across from. I take that more seriously than all this other stuff. Other stuff is great, and I appreciate, I'm grateful. Who I sit across, that I really focus on them. And Oksana knows this too. I'll sit and call my guests. I'll talk to my guests before they even come onto the show. We'll sit on the phone for 30 minutes, 45 minutes. Even all those people from season 1 up to now, you know, everyone I sat across from, we had a personal conversation before they even got here. A conversation, not just I'm asking these questions, go through. No, I'm talking to you. And I'm gonna decide, and we're gonna find out if this even works, because this has to work in order for the people to feel it, you know, on the other side. Mm-hmm. And so I take this seriously, and I don't just sit across or just have anyone on. You know what I'm saying? I ain't saying I'm this whole type of person, but I just take it seriously. And having you on the show and sitting across from you, I mean, I think it's kind of dope, bro. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times we'll see what happens in front of the camera, that's dope, but this don't happen without people like him. It don't happen without my wife working behind the scenes. It doesn't happen, right? I can set up a cell phone on the tripod, but it ain't gonna be the best it can be, like you said. Mm-hmm. You wanna be the best you can be. Mm-hmm. And I think having dope people on the side, on the team, makes you the best you could be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So
thank y'all so much for watching the Sit Down, man. We'll be back with some more episodes. Watch out for season 4, man. What's your LS Services?
LS Services is my other business that I have doing this type of stuff.
Yeah. How can they get in touch with that?
They can follow me on Facebook. I need to be more active on my professional pages, but I also have a website. If you go there, lsservices.biz, that's my website. Mm-hmm. Facebook, you can do lsservices.biz, or you can do Lamar Shealey. That's the easiest way. Instagram, I don't have a business Instagram because
it's all good.
I've managed like a whole bunch of them. So you can just go to ls_Shealey, SHEALEY, and you can find my Instagram and do that.
All that jazz.
You can find me at the 1403, the Shabbat Church, every Sunday and Wednesday. That's where I'm usually at, working. I tell everybody that comes to my church or says, hey, I want to come visit your church, or even from another church, they say, hey, man, I want to come and visit your church. Yeah. I said, you just see me running around like a chicken with my head cut off. And when they come, they say, yeah, you were.
You were doing just that.
I'm running around a lot, but it's strategic. Yeah. But now I'm training the team where I don't have to run around that much. Yeah. They can run around, or they're just in place. Yeah. God is blessing me in that way. Yeah.
Hey, it all works out, man.
It all does.
Thank y'all so much for watching, and we'll see y'all next time, all right? All right.